a distinguished Islamic scholar, teacher, author, visionary leader, and advocate for peace and intercultural understanding, Mr. Fethullah Gülen, affectionately known as Hocaefendi, meaning respected teacher. Hocaefendi dedicated himself to fostering interfaith and intercultural dialogue, promoting community service, and providing access to quality education. His unwavering commitment to peace, understanding, and service brought people together from diverse backgrounds, and tonight's gathering is a powerful reflection of that dedication. Thank you for being here to honor his memory and celebrate the values that he stood for. Following various health issues in his later years, at the age of 86, Mr. Gülen passed away from natural causes on October 20th at St. Luke's Hospital, Monroe campus. His funeral was held on October 24th at Skyland Stadium, New Jersey, with around 20,000 people in attendance. He was then laid to rest that same day on the grounds of the Chestnut Retreat Center here, where he called home for the past 25 years. In the Islamic tradition, it is customary to recite the opening chapter in the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, in honor of someone who has passed away. I would like to call up one of Mr. Gülen's students, Hakan Albayrak, to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. You can find the translation in your booklets.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Mr. Albayrak. Now we have a short video presentation in memory of Mr. Gülen.
Life is a journey in pursuit of the brightest stars. It is a treasure that some cherish, yet squandered by others who go after fireflies. The direction we choose is ours alone to make. Fethullah Gülen, the Islamic scholar, author, and poet, chose to seek the stars, and so has passed his life continually seeking the brightest and leading the masses in that direction. Fethullah Gülen said, "Those who pursue high purposes and take action to accomplish them remain alive." His entire life stands as a powerful testimony of his words. Those who hold the holy grail of hope in their hands should fashion the hearts of generations with lofty goals and guide them to the paths leading to the fountain of revival. Guided by the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad's example, peace be upon him, Gülen urged tens of thousands to cherish this treasure of life, to live fully, and to breathe life into others, not to squander the precious gift they've been given. Throughout history, each scholar has drawn unique insights from the tradition, developing distinct approaches to engage with the world. Hizmet, serving God through serving humankind, became the guiding principle Gülen derived from the Prophet's heritage, a blueprint tailored to meet the needs of our age. Born in 1938 into a tumultuous world in a far corner of Turkey, Gülen grew up in a poor yet devout family, one filled with love and a commitment to spiritual excellence. Despite the harsh economic conditions and the political persecution faced by the faithful under the ruling regime, his family immersed themselves in Islamic knowledge and devotion. Deeply inspired by his parents' commitment to faith, and having been tutored by some of the notable religious scholars of the time, Gülen quickly emerged as an influential preacher with scholarly authority in Islamic sciences. In the 1960s and 70s, his heartfelt sermons, evocative of the time of the Prophet, drew a growing nationwide following. What truly set him apart, however, was his emphasis on education and dialogue. "We must wed the mind with the heart," Gülen said, encouraging scientific exploration of nature and the cosmos with a spirit of awe and wisdom, while also calling for self-discovery rooted in honest faith and practice. Gülen's efforts and compelling teaching gave rise to what is now known as Hizmet, a global educational movement whose volunteers have established hundreds of schools across the world. Through extensive outreach programs, Hizmet has connected with diverse communities of faith, culture, and race, demonstrating that peaceful coexistence is always possible despite our differences. In response to Gülen's emphasis on charitable work and economic solidarity, the movement actively works to alleviate poverty, particularly in underprivileged nations, by providing relief through hospitals, health clinics, and the construction of water wells. Gülen was famously known for his unwavering stance against violence, radicalism, and the exploitation of religion, especially Islam, for political gain. Despite his dedication to these values, he was perceived as a threat by the ruling elite of Turkey, who ultimately forced him into exile, never to return. Like many luminaries before him, Gülen faced repercussions for the ideals he championed. After a life of service dedicated to humanity, Gülen passed away in Pennsylvania, USA on October 20th, 2024. Despite spending his last 25 years in exile, his message of peaceful coexistence continued to thrive and gain acceptance worldwide. Following in the footsteps of scholarly giants of the past, he taught until his final days, fostering dialogue across different walks of life, between secular and religious communities, East and West, science and faith. Now on the path to the stars and having returned to the beloved, his legacy continues to inspire a commitment to peaceful coexistence and service to humanity, principles that resonate powerfully in today's polarized world.
Now I will try and present a short summary of Mr. Gülen's life. Although I don't think I can do his life justice in a few minutes, but I will try my best. Born in a small village in eastern Turkey in 1938, Gülen was raised in a humble family rooted in spirituality. His parents instilled in him a deep love for learning and a reverence for the Prophet and his companions, laying the foundation for a lifetime devoted to faith, knowledge, and service. In 1959, Gülen was appointed as an imam to a historic mosque in Edirne, where he expanded his knowledge in Islamic disciplines, studied the social and natural sciences, and read the classics of both Eastern and Western literature and philosophy. Because of his broad knowledge and open-minded approach, he became a well-known preacher in the city in a short period of time. In recognition of his success in public service, Gülen was promoted to the positions of central preacher and director of a boarding school in Izmir, which was the third largest city in Turkey. Working in Izmir marked a turning point in Mr. Gülen's life. There, he connected with college students, intellectuals, and everyday citizens. During the political turbulence of the 1970s and 1980s in Turkey, he saw young people lured into extremist ideologies. Fights between communists and nationalists, secularists and Islamists, rightists and leftists engulfed cities, neighborhood, and college campuses. Nonviolence was non-negotiable for Gülen. In response, he urged the youth to choose paths of peaceful service to society. Gülen emphasized that a peaceful and harmonious world can only be achieved through understanding, reconciliation, mutual respect, and positive action. In his 30s, Gülen's influence had spread nationwide. He channeled the credit he had earned towards a positive end. He saw that the students in small villages did not have the same opportunity as the students living in big cities to receive a quality education. He encouraged people to establish dormitories and educational facilities to support students from underprivileged backgrounds. These schools became some of the most successful in Turkey, known for their high-quality education and for winning hundreds of awards in national and international science and math Olympiads. In the early 1990s, businessmen who had financially supported private schools, dormitories, and college prep courses in Turkey traveled to Central Asia. They noticed similar educational challenges there and offered to establish the same types of initiatives that had been successful in Turkey there. These efforts quickly expanded beyond Turkey to around 170 countries. A very important characterization of these schools is that they are secular and follow the national curriculum of the country in which they have settled. Even though religion is the inspirational source of the emergence of the movement, the ethos promoted in the schools is universal and encourages hard work, tolerance, compassion, and honesty. There's an emphasis on science and knowledge in these schools because for Gülen, science and faith are not only compatible, but complementary. He imagines a golden generation whose mind is nurtured by science and whose heart is enlightened by faith. Fethullah Gülen placed immense importance on humanitarian aid and social services, viewing them as essential expressions of faith, compassion, and responsibility toward humanity. He emphasized that helping those in need, regardless of background, faith, or nationality, was a moral obligation rooted in Islamic values like empathy, mercy, and justice. He encouraged his followers to engage in charitable work and to establish hospitals, relief organizations, and community centers worldwide, providing healthcare and disaster relief for vulnerable populations. As educational and social service initiatives grew around the world, Gülen sought to heal societal divides in Turkey through the revival of dialogue among people from diverse backgrounds, often including those with opposing ideologies. By the 1990s, Turkish society was divided along various social lines. The Journalists and Writers Foundation, where Gülen served as honorary president, organized gatherings that brought together opinion leaders from all social, religious, cultural, and economic backgrounds to work towards a peaceful future for Turkey. Gülen saw interfaith dialogue not only as a practical approach to reducing conflicts, but as a moral imperative rooted in the values of Islam, which he believed encouraged believers to embrace compassion and respect towards others. In his efforts, Gülen personally met with prominent religious figures across various faiths, including the Pope and other Christian, Jewish, and Buddhist leaders, to foster mutual respect and collaboration. His meetings were aimed at building trust and finding common ground on humanitarian issues such as education, social justice, and peace building. In 1999, Gülen traveled to the United States for medical treatment. Here, he led a quieter life, but continued his commitment to dialogue, meeting with academics, clergy, and civil society leaders from all backgrounds. His lifelong dedication did not go unnoticed. In 2011, he was honored with the Peace Award from the New York-based East-West Institute. In 2013, Time magazine named him one of the 100 most influential people, and he received the Manhe Peace Prize from South Korea that same year. In 2015, the Martin Luther King International Chapel at Morehouse College in Atlanta awarded him the Gandhi King Aikidia Peace Award for his lifelong dedication to peace. Gülen was named world's top public intellectual by Foreign Policy. He was listed among the top 100 most spiritually influential living people by the UK-based Mind, Body, and Spirit magazine. He was also recognized as a preacher and spiritual guide in the Muslim 500 published by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center in Jordan. Social scientists who studied his life and work nominated him multiple times for the Nobel Peace Prize. Throughout his life, Fethullah Gülen has authored over 80 books with over 10 million copies sold. His books have been translated in over 30 languages. He has continuously contributed the overwhelming majority proceeds from his copyright royalties to charity. Fethullah Gülen's inheritance reflects his modest lifestyle and commitment to simplicity. He did not own any property or wealth. He left behind his books, which he donated to the institutions who currently host those books, and a little bit of money to be used for his funeral expenses and for student scholarships. This inheritance exemplifies his values of humility and generosity, with even his limited personal wealth dedicated to supporting others. To be honest, there is a surrealness in talking about Mr. Gülen and his life accomplishments, not just because it's hard to accept that he's no longer with us, but because he was deeply humble and sensitive, never showing the slightest hint of taking credit for the good work accomplished under his leadership. During an interview with some social scientists where they used the term Gülen movement, he said, "I don't accept this term. Associating the good work of hundreds of thousands of people with one person would be a disservice to their efforts. If you must name this movement as a social scientist, I suggest calling it the movement of people uniting around high human values. Hence, the Hizmet, meaning service, movement." Hocaefendi was known as the Hoca who cried, a man whose tears reflected his profound love for God and compassion for people he would never meet. He once said, "Open your heart to everyone as much as you can. Let it be like an ocean. Become inspired with love and with faith and love for humanity. Offer a hand to those in trouble and show compassion for everyone." Though Fethullah Gülen is no longer with us, his legacy endures. His message of love, tolerance, understanding, and peace will continue to inspire generations to come. Let us honor his memory by embracing these values in our own lives. Thank you for listening to me. Now I would like to hand the microphone to you all. Hocaefendi meant so much to so many different people. Tonight we will hear from some of those people whose hearts he has touched, some who personally knew him, and some that maybe never even met him. So first, I would like to call up Dr. Anthony Stevens Arroyo, who is Professor Emeritus of Religious Studies at Brooklyn College. Dr. Arroyo.
I bring greetings and condolences and support from the Most Reverend Joseph Bambera, who is the Bishop of the Diocese of Scranton, and the committee chair of the Committee for Interfaith and Ecumenical Relations for the United States Council of Catholic Bishops, and also from the pastor of St. Luke's, Father Michael Quinnen. We sit there right at the corner of Main and 9th. None of us, myself included, I did not know personally Fethullah Gülen. But I didn't know Jesus or Mary either. And yet they have formed me in my heart and in my faith and in my life and given me aspirations. And so as I consider where we are and how we do and what Gülen meant, I see in the faces of those who are in Hizmet, the people that he has touched, something of a shadow of what has happened to me in my life. My whole understanding of faith was shaped by going to St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia, an all-boys school run by the Jesuits. And the Jesuits taught us there that there is nothing that we can learn about creation that does not increase our faith. Because the creator of the world is the source of all truth. And therefore, there's no contradiction between what he has given to us and what we can learn and what we can employ in service to the greater glory of God. And so when I was there in that Jesuit high school, I learned that there's nothing that is human that is alien to my faith. And while in other schools, people were given an index of forbidden books, not allowed to read Descartes, not allowed to read Marx, with the Jesuits, we read them all, because the idea was, how can you dialogue with these people and show them your way of looking if you do not understand where they're coming from? And so when asked to define what the Jesuits do and what they do with their schools around the world, missionaries throughout the different continents, the legacy of St. Ignatius Loyola was, we create men for others. And then I looked at what is the citation for Fethullah, that living for others is the highest virtue. And so I see a parallel between Hizmet and the Jesuits, between the people that have been shaped and touched by his life and the way that I have been formed in my own faith. And so I interpret the life of Mr. Gülen the way I interpret the life of the founder of the Jesuits, St. Ignatius, a saint. A saint's not perfect, but a saint takes all their imperfections and turns them to the good of their faith. And so if they're the same that way in what they want to achieve, I have to understand that Mr. Gülen is a saintly man who founded a movement. And his passing, therefore, is not the end of his movement, but rather the first day in building his legacy. And so just as I have tried to do in my life, I hope you will do in yours. One last thought. We have spent 40 days, more than 40 days, here in the Poconos with no rain. The earth is parched, leaves are shriveled. There's a danger of fire to consume part of God's nature. Today, it rained. The day for remembering Mr. Gülen's passing. The prophet Isaiah looked at dew from heaven, rain from the clouds, as a sign of God's mercy to the earth. And so I feel that this night, the finger of God is upon us all here, that even nature proclaims to us in its own symbolic way that mercy is abound, that God is present, and that we are all blessed. So may his soul and the soul of all the faithful departed rest in peace.
Thank you, Anthony. Now I would like to invite CRC board member Bekir Aksoy.
Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Bekir Aksoy. I was the president of Golden Generation for 15 years. And I met Mr. Gülen in 1969 when I was in the last year of high school. And since then, until 1992, he came to our house in Philadelphia. I never met him. But always in my life, I read his books, I listened to his sermons, and I lived with the same idea and ideals. And in 1999, I formally joined the movement, and I became the director of the camp and the president of the foundation which owns the camp. I did not know the activities that he did outside in other countries, in Turkey, in other cities, and later on in other states. But I personally came to know a man, in my humble personal opinion, the best Muslim character in Turkey. And among all the Islamic leaders I met last 50 years around the world. He was humble, he was considerate, and he was active. He did not want to waste even a single dollar or single moment. We had an iron gate outside the camp in 2000, and in 2001, I had invited the neighbors, and I said, we are going to have a picnic today, and always you were wondering, how come people with walkie-talkies in their hands, an iron gate, and you see a lot of people behind it, and this is a moment as secretive as one can get. And she said, yes, sir, really, we wonder why that was the case. I said, I'm sorry. We have the iron gate for Turkish people because there's a famous man as our guest at this property, and there might be 10,000 people outside the gate, and we have to guard him. It is always open for our American friends. And in the evening, he said, Mr. Aksoy, let me tell you this. If there is any outcome coming out of this, if it is good for humanity, in the hereafter you will be rewarded. But if you think that it is a joke, it is a game, you are having a fun with some people, you are going to be taken to task in the hereafter. That is how I realized how serious this man was. And I will tell you another episode when he invited us with an American family for the first time going to Turkey in order to see the country, the countryside, and also the activities that the movement members carried on. And he had invited the owner of a holding and myself, an ordinary man. We were at the same table having the dinner. And accidentally, I dropped something. And I wanted to lean and get it from the floor. He said, don't bother, wait. And I forgot after a couple of moments, he just went suddenly down there and he picked it up and he put it in front of me. He never asked anything for help for himself. And for 15 years, he never ordered me anything to do. If he wanted something to be done, he would say, is there something like this in that village, in that town, in that city, in Philadelphia? Or do you think that some brothers can do something around the corner in this camp? That is how he implied the things. And I realized that that was the basic characteristics of a leadership, not tyranny. And today, I would like to remember a man, because I was a witness to it. An Islamic movement turned from a religious movement into an international social movement caring for others, because he asked me if it was possible to have a cultural center or a reading room in Philadelphia in the year 1999. And that small action and that small, well, in my mind, order, what he requested, that became a national phenomena in the United States. We have hundreds of institutions almost in every state, and we have thousands and thousands of friends who share the same ideas and ideals with us. Rather, we would like to have the same ideas and ideals with them. And this gathering, this distinguished gathering of the people are witness to that because it's a sample. I hope this will spread around and we are going to be united. This planet is a small planet, but there is no other place that we can go. We have to learn how to share and how to live together. May God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Aksoy. Hocaefendi was an educator. He held regular classes with students since the 60s, even until his last years. Now we have some of Mr. Gülen's students with us. First, I would like to invite Mr. Ali Ak.
I would like to begin with the extension of condolences to every single one of you. I would have not imagined being a student of Fethullah Gülen in my childhood years. I met Hizmet people in 2010. Around that time, I started reading Islamic books, and Hocaefendi's books was one of the genre. I was impressed by the ideas. So, and I learned that there was a possibility to become his student. So opportunity arose and arrived to the US in 2014. It is my deep honor, profound honor, that I was able to come here and become his students. I know my words are going to fall short describing how an amazing scholar he was, but I would like to share a few moments of my observation of the study circle that we used to have here on daily basis. One of the things that impressed me a lot was his dedication and his commitment to education. Days he was sick, days, even the days he lost his brother, he went out his own private room to teach us. That was really touchy for me. Student psychology, sometimes it felt boring and long, and I wish we had him today to teach double the size, double the duration. But I know we are responsible carrying out the legacy of education he left us. He focused on learning the Islamic sciences, Islamic knowledge from the authentic Islamic sources. That was really something that he emphasized all the time. Learning Islam from the Quran and the early Islamic sources, traditional classic sources, so we can have the core Islamic understanding and also avoid radical ideologies. He elevated us spiritually. He always focused and emphasized, stressed that we should have strong connection with the Creator first, with devotion, prayer, and worship, and then with the other human beings, with peace, love, and compassion. I don't think I can overcome the feeling of sorrow of him passing, but I know something for sure. He left us with a legacy that we can hold on to and carry on. And I'd like to promise in front of you to him, I'll personally do my best, and I know every one of you will do their best to keep this thing he started going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ali Ak. Now I would like to invite one of his other students, Mr. Sarkan Gasimov, for his speech.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Sarkan Gasimov, and I'm from Azerbaijan, which country is located between Russia and Iran, and was a former Soviet Union country. So I met with the people from this movement and student of the Hocaefendi in 2007. So back in 1990s, the Hizmet Movement, this movement first came to my country after the Soviet Union collapsed, and they opened around 13 schools, universities, media organizations, and newspaper at that time. So it was at that time many other countries and other Islamic movements, they tried to enter to my country and try to spread their ideas as well. And during the like 30 years, over 40,000 students were graduated from Hizmet schools. So my personal level with this movement, even if they did not come to my country, and this country in some parts it became radical or open to the radical ideas, but thanks to Hocaefendi and his students' efforts, this country become there are more peaceful ideas are spread due to Hocaefendi's efforts. So my personal experience with Hocaefendi, I came here in 2015, and my background is a theology graduate from Turkey, and Hocaefendi encouraged me in personal level to study other traditions, especially Christianity and Judaism. I went to the Catholic school in New Jersey and did my master's over there. And Hocaefendi gave me a broad view to study and engage with other communities and with other religions, not only in grassroots level, also within academic level. And I witnessed that he did all his efforts to help us in this regard. And I say that may Allah give us a power to continue in this way, in his path. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gasimov. We talked about the schools Mr. Gülen inspired in different countries. Now we will hear about Mr. Gülen and those schools from the perspective of a student who attended one of those schools. I'd like to invite Mr. Dimitri Patraman from Moldova.
Excuse me. Hello, everyone. I'm Dimitri. My name is Dimitri. I'm from Moldova, a small country next to Ukraine. And I first heard the name of Fethullah Gülen when I enrolled in a charter high school, which was opened in my home country by followers of this movement. Back then, I didn't really pay any attention to his name or to his persona because I was a high schooler, right? But later, during my university years, I got a chance to read a book of his and to listen to a conference. And I was deeply impressed by the broad knowledge, his, broad, I would say, his profound knowledge in all areas of modern sciences, along with humanity's spiritual heritage. So it inspired me to read more of his books and to listen to more of his sermons. And overall, I think that he's kind of person. Of course, there is so many things to mention about him, and I don't think it's possible within 5 minutes. But overall, I think that he came to this world with a message and with a mission which he could fulfill and convey through the people who he educated, through the people he inspired do what they do, and through the schools the movement opened all over the world, and as well as through his intellectual legacy. I also think that he is one of the greatest men of our times, because what makes men great, I think, it's the motives behind his acts. And looking back to Hocaefendi, I think he didn't bow before power, he didn't bow before money. He bowed only before the one who he put his life to serve for. And that, in my opinion, one of the things that makes him such a great person. He's not among us anymore, unfortunately, but his heritage and his legacy keeps living in our hearts, in our minds, illuminating the path of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dimitri Patraman. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Yusuf Temizkan, who was a teacher in Hizmet schools in Siberia, Kenya, and Tajikistan.
Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak in this noble gathering. I greet you all with my deepest respect. Hocaefendi, our esteemed teacher, is not just a thinker. He was a visionary who has touched the lives of millions, guiding them to live in a way that makes the world a better place for everyone. I am proud to say that I am one of those people, and today I want to share how meeting him has made my life infinitely better. 32 years ago, when I was 18 years old, I came across his thoughts on education. At that time, I didn't fully understand the depth of his words. I was just a young man trying to figure out what to do with my life. You know, like any 18-year-old. But when I read, when he said about society's greatest enemies, namely ignorance, poverty, and internal disunity, it really struck a chord. He didn't just identify the problems, he pointed out the solutions: education, service, and bringing people from all different walks of life together. Ignorance, he said, is the most dangerous enemy. And how do we defeat ignorance? With education. Very simple, right? But it is also the most profound. For Hocaefendi, education wasn't just about textbooks and classrooms. It was about serving humanity, about making the world a better place through learning and understanding. Then there was this one moment that changed everything for me. I remember hearing him saying, "I wish I had a magic wand, and every young person I touched would choose to become a teacher." At that moment, I thought, well, I may not save the world alone, but I can certainly become a teacher. And so I did. My wife and I spent 5 years teaching in Gülen-inspired schools in Siberia, in the east of Russia, where the winters are colder than the freezers that you use in your house, and also where our first daughter was born. Then 9 years in Tajikistan, a small but charming country in Central Asia. Then 7 years in Ghana, in Africa, where the people are as warm and welcoming as the weather. And finally, 5 years in the US, where God has given abundant blessings. I spent my time in these countries not only teaching, but also learning about different cultures, different languages, and what it truly means to live for others. Wherever I went, I always tried to make an impact beyond the classroom. Interfaith dialogue, intercultural exchanges, charity work. I I wasn't just teaching, I was trying to build bridges. And you know what? Every time I thought I was helping others, I realized I was the one who was being helped. The beautiful people I met, the cultures I encountered, the languages I learned, they changed me in ways I can't even describe now. So today, I thank Hocaefendi from the bottom of my heart. I remember him with mercy and gratitude. I pray for him, for he is the reason I have experienced these beautiful things. I am so grateful that his ideas, his vision have touched my life. I know I don't have the chance to come back to this world, but if I had the chance to do it all over again, and if I could choose the life I want to live, I wouldn't hesitate. I would choose the same life, full of education and service by his inspirations. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Temizkan, and I apologize for misspeaking and saying Kenya instead of Ghana. Thank you for your speech. Now I'd like to invite someone who has spent her childhood here at Chestnut Retreat Center and her entire life close to Mr. Fethullah Gülen, his great niece, Hafsa Çelik.
Good evening, everyone. I want to first extend my condolences to everyone gathered here tonight and to all that loved him. As Harisam mentioned, I was very blessed to have time frames in all phases of my life that were honored by the presence of Mr. Gülen, and they are very significant to me because they truly make my life more meaningful. So I wanted to share a couple of them with you. Although he never married or had any children, he treated everyone around him like family. It was actually one of his greatest gifts, making everyone feel as if they were the most loved person by him. If you were fortunate enough to know him, you likely experienced that unique sense that you are the most important and you are the one who he truly cares about and loves. So when I look back at my childhood, it's clear to me that I'm actually not going to look at my notes. I wrote them down because emotions are very high tonight, but in case, then I get confused looking at my notes. So I hope I can get my message across fully with my heavy heart. So when I look back at my childhood, hold on. I can honestly say that he was the one person that cared about us the most. And yes, even more than our parents sometimes. He was Hocaefendi, so he was extremely concerned about our spiritual growth. So he would make sure his prestigious students made time for us little kids to teach us the Quran and give us religious lessons. But he didn't stop there. He would take time away from his busy schedule to actually listen to us recite the Quran. I would feel like my heart might burst from the pressure, but he would take the time to make sure we were at the level that we should be and that we're growing as the way we should. And during those years, childhood years, we had many Quran teachers, but he was the one teacher that truly rewarded us for the growth that we were showing, and in such a memorable way. I never forget one day, the day that we passed from the child Quran, and we were actually finally able to start reading the actual Quran. We exited the small building that he first resided in, and as we exit, all of a sudden, chocolate started falling from the sky. And as you can imagine, we're 5, 6, 7-year-old kids. We were awestruck. We're like, oh my God, this is Allah's reward. He's sending us blessings with His angels. So we were so happy, and we ran to our parents were like, we just because we started reading the Quran, Allah gifted us this. But obviously, later on, we learned that it was actually him. He took the time to come out into the balcony, throw us candy, and then walk back and let us live that, that moment that we were gifted from Allah. That was just one of the ways he made us, even us little kids, feel truly special. Then I look back at my, high school years. I remember even before that, he would always want to see our report cards, and I forgot about this. My dad reminded me. He wouldn't just like look at them. He would like literally go through each grade, and he would actually sign them. I wish I kept them. I didn't know he would sign them, but I didn't. And one time when I was in high school, I remember apparently I was upset, and he asked me why, and I don't know how I got the courage, but I told him, one of the Science Olympiad projects I'm working on isn't at a level it should be. I said it casually, and I expected a casual response, like a prayer, may Allah ease it for you or something. But of course, that's not him. He doesn't stop there. He takes everyone's worries as his own. So the next day, he called my school and talked to my teachers and asked, how could he help to, what can we do to improve this project, get it to the level that it should be? I never forget it. I'm 15 years old, thinking about the mission he was carrying on his shoulders. How do you find time for this little 15-year-old girl? And then I go back, I got married, and my son was born 2.5 months early, so we had a long hospital stay. Obviously, as his parents and his grandparents, his aunts and uncles were all worried about him, but honestly, I can say he carried the same worry as us. And how do I know this? Because every day he would ask about him. Every day he would send prayers. And actually, as his parents, after a while, we got used to seeing him with his cables and his oxygen masks. But his heart never could take seeing. He would ask for pictures. His heart never got used to seeing a little baby in such a condition. And so I also remember one time, after a long time, they took his mask enough to change his oxygen mask and change his cables. And in that brief moment, just to ease his heart, me and my husband rushed to take a picture of him, and we sent it to him so he would his heart would ease a little seeing him healthy. And we left the hospital. He was healthy. We were done worrying about him. But he never stopped. Every day he kept asking about his thing. And this is just my experience, but that was the person he was. If you shared a worry with him, he never forgot. You can ask everyone who had a personal interaction with him. You even yourself might have forgotten, you asked for a prayer, say, because of a sickness. It got well, you forgot about it. But years later, you met him again. He would once again, how is your leg doing, Or something about your parents. How is your mom doing? So I cannot comprehend, I really cannot grasp, how can someone have such a big heart and make everyone around him feel so special and feel so loved? That's why I look at myself and I say, Hafsa, okay, in this Western world, all you hear is think about yourself. You're the most important person. If they're toxic, get them out of your life. I say, nope, you cannot listen to this message. You have to take the example of Hocaefendi, and you have to try to love everyone around you, make everyone feel around you loved and special, and try to make everyone's life around you better. And I hope I can do that. I pray, my prayer is that I can make the most of these memories and take the message out of these memories and apply it to my life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Hafsa. All right, I know we're running short on time a little bit, but I want to sort of do an open mic to see if anybody has any more reflections, condolences, or to offer any prayers. So I'm going to sort of ask, but I also have a short list of people that I think, would like to speak. First of all, Paolo Bashera, if he's here. Oh, thank you.
What a beautiful testimony that we just heard. Especially the story of the chocolate rainy and Mr. Fethullah just disappearing on time before she could see him. I am part of the Seventh-day Adventist community in Middletown in Port Jervis, New York. And I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Fethullah Gülen once. But even before I met him, while I was serving in Senegal, West Africa, I once visited one of the schools without ever knowing about it. And then later I found out this is part of the school belonging to Hizmet Movement. But my first contact with the followers of Hizmet was in Northridge, California when I lived there. I met Demirkan, Ensar Demirkan, in a group of Muslims in Northridge. And later I met also Yauchen Aslan. And Yauchen was our guide. They took us to Turkey, and we visited many sites in Turkey. What a surprise for me as a Seventh-day Adventist pastor to see the sites found in the book of Acts and Revelation, but shown by my Muslim brothers. What a phenomenal privilege. And so, after getting to know many Muslim brothers, I also met one called, I don't remember all the names, but one called Mehmet Eldem. And so through this journey, my wife and I, we were enriched spiritually. And one day we came to this place. I have a friend called Gerald Whitehouse, and Yauchen Aslan invited us to meet Mr. Fethullah Gülen personally. He was still doing well, probably 4 or 5 years ago. But I was so impressed with him because such a giant, such a spiritual giant, met us with humility and friendship. And he was looking more often to me than to Gerald, and I would imagine because of my Middle Eastern face, because my ancestors are from Lebanon and Syria, and I thought he was looking at me very, very frequently, and I took advantage and looked at him a lot also. And then it was time for us to take a picture, and I still have the picture today with the three of us. And then later my friend Yauchen said, "Paulo, you were not supposed to touch his shoulder in the picture." But then it was too late. And I felt he accepted my friendship in spite of my mistake. And so I really treasure this time that we spent with him. I also remember that this was during the time that our Turkish brothers could not go back to their country, and some of them could not even leave. And I do remember that we shared with him, Gerald and I, about the theme of the great controversy, the great conflict between good and evil, which is found in the Bible and in the Quran also. And I felt that he was listening attentively because we need each other. And so I am so thankful to have met him personally and to have met the members of the movement, Hizmet Movement. One more thing I want to share with you. About a month ago, I was sharing this experience with my church in Middletown, and I said to them, you know, we have a thing or two to learn with the members of the Hizmet Movement and Mr. Fethullah Gülen, because they are not afraid of meeting anybody. And I have the impression that we are. So we are so thankful. And I pray that we will be ready for that day, the great day of resurrection. There will be joy in that day. Yes.
Thank you, Paolo. I believe we have some of Mr. Gülen's doctors here with us. If they would like to share any words, you're more than welcome.
Hi, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk here tonight. I will say I'm truly honored to have been asked to participate in Mr. Gülen's care, and I want to express my deepest condolences to all of you whose lives he has touched. My relationship with him was that of a doctor and a patient. But over the last 30 years, I've taken care of thousands of patients, and none quite so special as Mr. Gülen. Just upon my first introduction to him, just seeing those around him, those caring for him, and the dedication that they had to him gave me pause, and I needed to learn a little bit more about this man. And the friends and caregivers and the team of doctors that supported him gave me books and told me of stories and helped me to know just how special a man he is. And so I was honored to be able to care for him over the last 1 year and learned a little bit about him in that journey. I feel like over the last 3 weeks since his passing and through this last hour, I've learned abundantly more through these testimonials from those of you who were able to speak. And I think I can share with you all, and we all agree that we were all blessed to have known him or have been taught by him or have read his teachings. Bless you all.
Hello, my name's Darren Traub. I've had the honor of taking care of Mr. Gülen for, I don't even know, 5 to 10 years, Servet. First of all, it was just such an honor to take care of him, to be in the room with people who just cared so much about him, and to have visited here before. And, knowing that he reached across faiths meant so much to me, being a Jewish doctor, that he trusted me so much implicitly. It's just, I remember saying to my wife one day, who's here, I just wish the world was like this. There's many memories. My name's Darren, and he called me Darhan, which I loved. And so my family would call me Darhan. Also, after one of his hospitalizations, I visited him with my children, and just to see the joy on his face when he got to meet my children, and that was probably the most incredible moment for me in my care of him, and just what his niece spoke about, his love for people. I saw that in the way he took to my children, and that just meant so much to me. And I just hope that I know that his memory will live on, but I hope that I'm able to see his legacy live on. And I'm just so grateful to have met such wonderful people and be a part of this community. So thank you.
Thank you to both of you for your dedication and sensitivity when caring for Mr. Gülen. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to head over to Nicole. If you would like to come up, that's also fine.
So for those of you who don't know me, I am the Reverend Nicole Vogel, and I serve at the East Stroudsburg Presbyterian Church for the last 5 years. I have come to know not Mr. Gülen himself, but this community here through the interfaith dialogue work that began in my ministry early on. And I have come to meet many of the folks here, beginning with Haroon, and Ali, and Semi, and all of the women, and how come you never told me you were his great niece? You see the humility that has been passed down. I spent a Ramadan dinner in Hospice House and never knew that she was related. But I want to share with you just 3 simple stories to keep it to 2 minutes that just show the legacy he is leaving that has been lived out in this community. And one of them comes from, that I just heard this evening, from a gentleman who works at our church whose daughter is also a tech over at the hospital where he would go to. And she said it was a gentleman who not only was a patient, but took the time to talk with her and treat her as a human. And then the second time or another time when he came, he brought one of his books and signed it for her and gave it to her. And then there's my favorite story to share. Is Haroon here tonight? Okay. When I was first invited to the Thanksgiving meals here, I brought my daughter along, and Haroon came up to me. He had already passed the torch. I had met Haroon through our clergy group, and he had already passed the torch on to Ali. And he says to me, my wife is new here, and she wants to experience a Thanksgiving American dinner. Where should we go? Well, if you're American, you know Thanksgiving dinners always happen in the house primarily. So I said, I don't know, my house? And I went home and I told my husband, and he goes, are you kidding me? You know your father, right? For those of you who don't know, my father can be quite racist. And so I was like, okay, I know, but God inspired it, God will take care of it. At the end of that Thanksgiving meal, my father said, you have to invite them all back. And so thank you for those who continue to come to my house on Thanksgiving. And finally, I will leave you with this one last story of how it's even affected children. My daughter, who has come with me, invites her friends to come along and says, you have to learn about these people. They are amazing. They are so humble and yet so nice and go above and beyond. And she likes to talk about the gold plates they serve everything on. And how that has changed her and her path and blessed her beautifully. And it is because of the legacy of Mr. Gülen that can continue for many, many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Anyone else? Any volunteers? All right.
Hi, I'm Deborah Appler. I'm representing the Bethlehem Interfaith Group, as well as I come from the United Methodist tradition, and I've been asked to pray, so I'm going to offer a prayer tonight, if we could all pray. God of grace and love, thank you for gathering us here together to honor and remember your faithful servant, Fethullah Gülen. He was a beloved member of the global community whose life's work built pathways of hope and peace throughout the world. In a world where inequality, hatred, and violence often prevail, he showed us what it means to love our neighbors in countless ways. We thank you for his dedication to education opening doors for people of all backgrounds, young, old, rich, and poor. We thank you that in a world where religious and cultural divides can separate us, you sent us, Fethullah Gülen, to inspire us to bridge those gaps. Through these efforts, we learn to share resources, create spaces for learning, and build interfaith communities of mutual respect and understanding. Help us carry on his legacy by continuing our commitment to community service, interfaith dialogue, and the pursuit of justice and peace. May we cherish and celebrate the richness of our diverse faith traditions as we work together to bring love, hope, and harmony into our world. We pray for all those mourning his loss, all of us. May we find comfort and peace, love and hope that he instilled in those around him. May Fethullah Gülen's memory inspire us to honor his life through our own continued actions of peace, justice, and compassion. Guide us, O God, as we move forward together with you. In your loving name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Reverend Deborah Appler, for starting our interfaith prayer. I would like to now invite Rabbi Daniel Zucker to continue the prayer.
As Rabbi Bickert mentioned momentarily, I'm the new rabbi the last year and a quarter, Temple Israel of the Poconos. I would ask you all to please rise. I'm first going to recite this in English. It's the memorial prayer for the deceased. And then I apologize, I can't translate it into Arabic because my Arabic is only good in conversation, but I will do it in the original Hebrew. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of the revered scholar of Islam, the righteous teacher, Dr. Muhammad Fethullah Gülen, who is gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. El Rachamim shochen b'meromim Hamatze menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina B'malot kedoshim utehorim Kazohar rakia mazhirim Et nishmat moreh hatzedek hatznua Hamoreh la'Islam Shehalach l'olamo Muhammad Fethullah Ibn Ramiz v'Rafia B'Gan Eden tehei menuchato Anna bal harachamim Hasdirechu b'satan knafech al olamim Utzaror b'tzochayim et nishmato Adonai nachalato V'yanuch b'shalom al meshkavo V'nomar amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Now I'd like to invite Akif Türk to finish our prayer.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to extend my condolences to everyone here and thank you all for gathering here today. I'm not sure if I'll be able to top the rabbi's prayers, but I will try to offer a humble prayer for all of us here today. O Allah, we are travelers. Our journey began in the realm of spirits and has passed through the stations of childhood, youth, and old age, only to conclude at the grave. From there, we will continue to a completely new world. A sincere servant of yours, our beloved teacher Muhammad Fethullah Gülen was a traveler as well. We have witnessed his final migration, leaving behind the world of suffering and stepping into the world of eternal blessings. O Allah, O the most merciful, all forgiving, forgive the shortcomings of our beloved teacher, embrace him with your infinite mercy, accept him into your exalted presence with the most beautiful acceptance. O Allah, following the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, our teacher Fethullah Gülen dedicated his entire life to serving all your creation. Hizmet, service to humanity, was the essence of his life. O Allah, we trust our teacher's body to the earth, but ask that his spirit rest in your hands. Just as you bring forth day from night and life from death, let his passing mark the beginning of a new life, a life of hope and renewal for humanity. May his memory inspire us to build bridges of friendship among people of diverse beliefs and backgrounds, paving the way for a future of peaceful coexistence. O Allah, help us spread peace and love throughout the world. As a young person, a high school student, I can attest that my peers and I have been greatly inspired by our beloved teacher, Fethullah Gülen. As we go through high school, moving on to college and beyond, we are driven by the ideals that he has inspired within us. Ideals of love, trust, and dialogue. We are firm in our efforts to continue spreading peace throughout the world as he showed us by his example. O the bestower of sustenance, your treasures are infinite and your generosity knows no limits. In our efforts to create a better future, please provide us both in spiritual and material sustenance without limitations. Amen.
Thank you, Akif. Thank you to all three of you for those beautiful prayers. Thank you all for coming. It's heartwarming to see that Mr. Fethullah Gülen has touched so many people's hearts, and it's encouraging to see that his teachings will continue to live on through so many people. To end the service, I have just a few announcements. In our tradition, it's customary to serve some food in honor of the person who has passed away. So please feel free to head over to the event hall down the hallway. We have some food and we have some tables if you would like to sit and have some fellowship. If you don't have time, we can also make the food to go. So feel free to stop by there. Second announcement is that we have a book stand right outside the door. We have some samples of Mr. Gülen's books and also some books written about him. If you're interested in them, there's a QR code that you can scan to see where you can obtain the books. But we also have a complimentary copy of Fethullah Gülen's biography written by John Paul, so please take one on the way out. And lastly, as I mentioned, Mr. Gülen's resting place is located on the grounds here. For those of you that wish to visit, you're more than welcome to. It might be a little hard to find, so make sure that you find somebody from the retreat center that can either point you in the right direction or take you there. If a group of people want to go, we can have some food and sort of depart together from the hall to the resting place. If you'd like to go by yourself, you're more than welcome to. Once again, thank you all for coming. Have a good night, and may peace be upon you all. Thank you.